David, I looked around just now and I noticed more and more often I'm the oldest guy on the stage. That never happened before, so I'm getting up there. But we're so thrilled to have our guest here today. The events of 2016 were so riveting that it was hard to pull yourself away from cable news during that election year. It was just like nobody could have made up what happened in a novel. It was just so incredible, all the different events. But it was so nice after all the serious talking heads finished for Jesse Waters to come on and give us some comic relief. And he exposed how many low information voters there are out there. But he did it in a respectful way and a comical way. And I was just so impressed by him. When we ran into him, Becky and I, at one of the presidential debates, we invited him to come to Liberty, and he graciously accepted. But he's has his own show now, Saturday night at 8 o'clock, Waters World. I thought IPTV never worked, so somebody must be watching it. But it was. Is that true, by the way? Yeah. All right. Somebody's going to be in trouble, but he's also done the segment Waters World on Bill O'Reilly. He started out as a production assistant, and he worked his way up at Fox. He's got 2 twin daughters, and I didn't catch your wife's name, but Noelle, yeah. But he's happily married, and he was on Air Force One last week interviewing the president. We're very honored and privileged to have Jesse Waters at Liberty University today. Please give him a welcome.
Appreciate it. Is this my mic?
Sure.
How you guys doing? I'm Waters, and this is my world. Thank you. So the last time I was in front of all these college students, I was doing some interviews for Waters World, and I said to one guy, "What year did America declare our independence?" And the guy looks at me and he says, "The 1980s. So I didn't know that Reagan beat the Soviets and the British. It's news to me. But that guy was in front of a marijuana dispensary, so we're just going to let that slide. I was going to wear my collar up today, but I hear wearing your collar up in Lynchburg means a little something different. Didn't want to give the wrong impression. Last time I had my collar up, I had a pink popped collar, and Dennis Miller said I looked like gay Dracula. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I grew up in the 80s, and my parents were hardcore hippies. My parents were tear gassed protesting the Vietnam War. So they would send me to these outdoor wilderness camps, and all I wanted to do was hang out at the pool. So I rebelled, and I was in college, and I said, I want to make a little money, because that's what all my friends were doing. They were going to Wall Street and making some cash. So I tried that, and it turns out you have to have a basic grasp of arithmetic to handle millions of dollars of other people's money. So I was quickly fired from my job, and then got a new job working for the Pataki re-election campaign, governor of New York. And we were running a candidate, Dora Irizarry. She was the attorney general candidate, and we were running her against Eliot Spitzer. Remember Eliot Spitzer? Well, he crushed us by about 30 points. We were in charge, my group, of doing opposition research, and I guess we missed the fact that Eliot Spitzer was sleeping with prostitutes up and down the East Coast. Could have been useful information. So he won, and then we all know what happened to Eliot. But at that point, I was out of a job. So I came to Fox News Channel. And I started working 2 p.m. to midnight, Tuesdays through Sundays, no health insurance, freelance. I was in the basement. I sat next to a girl named Candy. She dotted her I's with a heart. And then there was an opening on The Factor. And I said, man, I gotta get this job. So I went up and I interviewed with O'Reilly. And I went up to Bill's radio studio, and I sat down, and he looks at me, dead silence. And he says, Waters, what's your father do? I was telling him what my dad did. Then more dead silence. And I said, Bill, I really liked your new book. It was a great read. And he perks up, and he goes, you seem like a smart kid. You start Monday. So Bill hired me, but then he almost fired me. We have a pitch meeting every week where we get in a circle and pitch stories we think would be good for the Factor. And Bill's up there just crushing people. That's not going to get a rating. What are you, an idiot? And I get up and I pitch, and Bill cuts me off and says, interns don't pitch. Next. And the producer says, Bill, you just hired this guy. This is Jesse. He's your new production assistant. And he says, all right, Waters, what do you got? Go. And I pitch, and I bomb. And that afternoon, my producer brings me up to his office, and he says, Jesse, unfortunately, Bill does not think you're articulate enough to do the show. You have 1 week to turn it around, or you're fired. So I panic, and I worked so hard the next week, looking for good stories, trying to deliver my pitch as well. And eventually I got the hang of it, and I'm at the next pitch meeting, and I said, Bill, there's this judge down in Alabama, and he just gave a very soft sentence to this sex offender, molested a young child. And Bill says, all right, Waters, you're going to go down to Alabama, and you're going to confront the judge. And I said, where's Alabama? I've been to Disney World. So the next day, yeah, Disney. So the next day, staked out at 6 a.m. in front of this courthouse in rural Alabama. Judge gets out, gets in the car. We tail the judge through these back roads of Alabama. I hop out of the car with the mic. Judge Bush, how could you do this? And the guy says, I'm not Judge Bush. And I said, but Judge Bush, he goes, I'm not Judge Bush, I'm a state trooper, but I'm gonna tell Judge Bush you're looking for him. So the first time I ambushed the wrong guy. Word got back that the judge knew I was in town, and he says, I'll read a statement to you on camera in my chamber. So I called back to New York, and I didn't tell Bill I booted the ambush, but I said, Bill, he's gonna talk to me, what should I do? And Bill says, when he comes out in his robe, yell at him. And I'm 23, I'm a nice guy, but I'm terrified of O'Reilly. So judge comes out in his robe and his chamber, starts reading the statement, and I'm in the back, and I said, interrupting him, Judge, don't you have anything you want to say to the victim's family? How do you live with yourself? Don't you believe in justice? And the judge gets frazzled, and he scatters back to the chambers, and we bring the tape back to New York, and we roll it, and Bill's happy, but he brings me back up to his office, and he says, Waters, good job down there in Alabama. One thing, though. Your voice is too high-pitched for television. You need a speech coach. Me, I never had that problem. So that was Bill's advice to me. And I don't know if you guys remember this, a few weeks later, there was a very, very heinous case down in Florida. A young girl, Jessica Lunsford, 6-year-old child, was kidnapped, repeatedly raped in a trailer for 4 days while other people were in the trailer, and then buried alive by a thrice convicted sex offender. So Bill was livid, and he wanted me to go down and confront the slugs. Bill had nicknamed the 3 other people in the trailer the slugs for not ratting this guy out to the cops. And these people were disgusting people. They were crack fiends, really horrific individuals. So I go down to Homosassa, Florida. I'm 25, don't know what I'm doing. $60 for the hotel room, mosquito netting over the bed. And I said, Bill, how do I catch up with these people? Where do I go? You know, these are off the grid people. Bill goes, go to the local watering hole, you know, talk to the locals, get the drop on the slugs. So I go to Colonel Frogs. this bar down in Homosassa, and I'm knocking back $2 beers with the locals, trying to get the drop on the slugs. And they tell me where the trailer park is. I roll up on the trailer park, and this guy pulls down the window and goes, they're over this way, over on that trailer, but they have 2 vicious dogs. I'm a little afraid of dogs. Sorry. And so I go to the 7-Eleven, and I buy some sausages, you know, some little Scooby snacks to throw the dogs off. So we roll up on the trailer park, and these vicious dogs charging me, and they're barking, and they're carrying on, and I grab the sausage, I throw the sausage down, and the dogs run for the sausage, and they're distracted, and I keep rolling up to the trailer. And we see this hideous woman, Dorothy Dixon, and she's scrambling around the trailer, and I confront her on camera, you know, how can you do this? Why don't you give these people up to the cops? This girl could have been alive right now. And we got great footage. And I called back to New York, and I said, Bill, we got it. Bill goes, all right, Waters, drive 3 hours north to Tampa. You're going to be on the show tonight. And I'm still a little hungover for knocking back drinks with the locals. And I hadn't anything to wear either. So I drive 3 hours north to Tampa, go to a Walmart. First time, last time ever been in a Walmart. I mean, come on, I'm from New York. And I buy a blazer and a tie at Walmart, and expensed it, obviously, and then go on the air that night. And I did well enough, so Bill kept on putting me on. And we used to, you know, run roughshod over these judges for giving soft sentences to sex offenders. We got a lot of laws changed across the country. Jessica's Law, which I'm very proud of. Mandatory minimum 25-year sentence for first-time rape of a child under 13. "45 states passed that. Very proud of that. And so after I kind of got a little more seasoned, Bill came up with the idea for Waters World. And the concept was, he goes, Waters, we're going to have you go out in the streets and find out how much young people know. It turns out, not so much. And he named the segment after the biggest box office bomb of all time, Waterworld. Guy's got a great sense of humor. So we started hitting the streets. And these are some actual answers of Waters World questions. Are you guys ready? Who was the first president of the United States? No. George Bush. Or, who won the Civil War? No. France. Or one of my favorites, who did America fight in the Vietnam War? Not a trick question. South Korea. I could go on and on. You want me to do some more? I like this one. What body of water is on the east coast of the United States? The Red Sea. He was in LA, so. Or one of my other favorites, what do you think about Ebola? It's nice. It's funny, but it's also sad because people are oblivious. I'm not saying they're stupid, they're just not paying attention. And this was basically the electorate a couple years ago. So this was the status quo. And we were facing an election. And who was running? Who were the big shots? It was going to be Hillary Clinton versus Jeb Bush, the two most boring people in the world. And these politicians can bamboozle and hoodwink oblivious individuals, and that's what's been happening. That's why we're 20 trillion in debt. That's why we have no weapons of mass destruction. That's why Obamacare is a disaster, because people get fooled, because no one votes and no one cares. But then, down came the escalator, Donald Trump. I mean, I was looking at Melania the whole time. I didn't even see Donald. I'm not coveting her. I'm just saying. So he comes down, and he gives this speech, and he says the thing about the Mexican rapists, and all heck breaks loose, and the media is just glomming onto that. Meanwhile, if you look at the news, there's an illegal alien rape epidemic right now that the media is burying. But anyway, they're latched onto that, but they don't realize there's a new sheriff in town. So the next big event is the Iowa State Fair. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what that's all about, that's where they have deep fried butter, right? I mean, I've never been. You kiss a pig, something like that. I don't even know. I'm from Philly. Yay, all right. And so this is where politicians pretend to be real people and press the flesh and, you know, try to win votes. But what does Donald Trump do? In his $3,000 suit, lands his helicopter right in the middle of the state fair, takes a bite of pork chop on a stick, and then starts giving little kids a ride around in the helicopter. Totally owns the state fair. And the media is missing this because they're underestimating him and they're not realizing he's starting to resonate with regular people. And the media is saying, you know, this guy's not serious, he's not going to run. Remember, they said he wasn't going to win the primaries and he wasn't going to win the general. And then after he won the general, he was going to resign and let Pence go. I mean, they've been doing this the whole time. And then we have the San Bernardino shooting. And what happened there was guys should never have been let in the country. We all know there was a huge, huge gap in screening there. And Obama comes out, the president, and he says, Islam has nothing to do with this, and we need gun control. And Donald Trump comes out and says, Islam has everything to do with this, and if the good guys had guns, these guys would have gotten taken out. So at that point, Trump really elevates himself to the same level as President Obama. And he's right in the national conversation, right on the same level, really showing leadership qualities at this point. And we're rolling into the first debate. You guys remember what happened at the first debate? A lot of energy. Fox News debate. Megyn Kelly comes up and she's teed up. She's ready to go with this question. You know, Donald, with the women, blah, 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 you're so mean, you said this and that. Only Rosie O'Donnell. And he wins the night on that alone. Home run. But that begins a year-long drama with Megyn Kelly and Fox News. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes negotiations going on, and the chairman gets involved, and it's a mess because Donald, you know, defends his honor, takes everything personally. I understand that. And he drops out of the next debate, does his own thing for charity, ends up coming in second in Iowa. And who beats him? Ted Cruz. But Ted Cruz then becomes Lying Ted. So y'all remember what happened at these debates. Little Marco, Lying Ted. I mean, Trump is a branding expert, and he's going middle school on these cats and knocking them down one by one, just ridiculing them. Low energy Jeb. My favorite line was that he called Mitt Romney poor. Guy's worth $250 million, he's poor, and apparently he walks like a penguin. So Trump's just slaying these guys, and no one's ever seen anything like this before. And it's fun. But he's winning and ends up winning the primary, and we're rolling into the summer. And the campaign's a skeleton campaign. The guy's got nothing going on back behind the scenes, so he's got to start boosting things up. Then what happens? Hillary Clinton. Comey comes out, FBI director, and everyone's like this, like, oh, he's going to indict her, here we go, saying she doesn't even know what this means, and she's, confused by her BlackBerry, and it's a joke. So he comes up and he says, we're not going to indict her. And if any of us had done anything close to what she did, we would have been indicted. So that becomes now the narrative of the system is rigged. And in a way, it helps Trump because he's now running against a rigged system. So we're moving now into the RNC. And first on the RNC, what happens? Melania plagiarizes the speech. Poor Melania. Must have been a tough night at Trump Tower. And, the press is just joking around about all these knuckleheads, these B-list celebrities like Scott Baio and the Duck Dynasty guys. And they're kind of missing the energy and the enthusiasm at the convention. I was in Cleveland. There was a lot of love at that convention. A lot of love. And the press just missed that. So Trump comes up at the end and gives this killer speech. America first, make America great again, build the wall, drain the swamp. He starts hitting all the right notes, and complete grand slam. And then the DNC comes along, and on the first night, I think Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairwoman of the DNC, gets canned because she got caught rigging the primary against poor Bernie. So Bernie's troops are out in the streets with the dreadlocks and the weed, and they're angry, and it's a mess, and there's a huge civil war going on in the Democratic Party that the press is not reporting on. But I see it because I'm in the streets. And Geraldo gets bottles of water poured on him, and it's a mess. So Hillary comes out and is totally overshadowed by every other speaker because she's low energy. And she sleptwalked through the entire race, as we know. But what does Trump do instead? He gets into an argument with the Gold Star family after that convention, and his poll numbers plummet. So now he's really hitting the skids, and he's got to start turning things around. So what does he do? Fires everybody, you're fired, and brings in a new team of fresh faces, Bannon, Kellyanne, real soldiers, great talented people. And Trump begins to read from a teleprompter. Now, we used to make fun of President Obama for the teleprompter, but we love Trump on the teleprompter now. He's stopping riffing. He's not going off on tangents. He's not telling people to punch people in the audience. And that's a good thing, because now he is supposed to be, quote, presidential. And in August, he turns this thing around. You see the poll numbers come up, because he starts hitting these solid themes of keep America safe, one-term limit for these guys in Washington, and his numbers come up. And then Hillary starts coughing a lot. Remember poor Hillary? And she starts taking lots of days off. I don't know what she was doing. And then we remember, and this is on camera, Hillary faints. You clapping? Well, I'd faint too if I was married to Bill. Obviously. So she goes down, and people are worried about Hillary. And the poll numbers start coming back up, and it's the first debate in Hofstra. So we're at the first debate, and Trump's bragging about how he's not studying, and we're like, okay, let's see how he does. And this guy leaves a ton of meat on the bone. Really, could have really hammered her, didn't. And he did okay, but at the end, he gets into another fight with some beauty queen from Venezuela, or God knows where, and the numbers start going down again. So we're getting a little nervous again. So what happens next? Billy Bush happens next. Locker room talk. And he gives a kind of an apology, but in traditional Trump style, doubles down. And what does he do at the second debate? he brings every single Bill Clinton mistress and alleged sexual assault victim to the debate and holds a press conference an hour beforehand. You know, putting Paula Jones in eyesight of Bill. I mean, Melania's already there, so Bill's distracted. So everyone's freaking out, and Trump comes up and actually pretty graciously and effectively puts the locker room talk to rest. And then comes out and just annihilates Hillary. Completely destroys her in a very, very substantive, fact-based way. And at one point he said, you know, if I was president, you'd be in jail, and the House comes down. We had the lock her up chants coming. And so now, the strange thing happens. The numbers don't improve. And I'm looking at the polls and I'm thinking, why? Because this guy just obliterated this poor woman, and he should be at least tied, and he's still down 10 to 15. Something is not right. And then a series of things come out. About a week or two before, you have WikiLeaks. And turns out the Clinton Foundation's full of corruption. Hillary has a public position and a private position. Everybody hates Chelsea. They're worried about bimbo eruptions. And no one's really even reporting it except Fox News. And then another series of things begins to happen. Obamacare premiums all of a sudden come up. James O'Keefe releases these hidden camera videos. It shows Democrats bragging about how they commit voter fraud. Democrats are admitting that they were sending in thugs to start fights at Trump rallies. And the whole thing's starting to come unglued. Then Comey comes out, does his thing, reopens the criminal investigation because of our friend Anthony Weiner. Poor Huma. And then you think he should be tied, but he's still not. He's down now about 5 points. And everyone thinks it's going to be landslide city. Hillary's got fireworks ready to go, you know, champagne's on ice. And we have this third debate. Third debate was kind of boring, even though it was a Fox News debate. Don't tell Chris Wallace I said that. But the only thing to come out of that debate was that when they asked Trump if he was going to abide by the results of the election, he said maybe. Check it out, see what's happening. Yeah, because maybe there could have been fraud or it's close. And, you know, people said this guy's going to be, you know, a dagger through the heart of the Constitution. There's going to be a crisis. And what happened? It turned out Hillary was the one that didn't accept the results of the election. So they vote, and day before, Trump's going to Michigan, and he's going to Wisconsin, and you're thinking, what is this guy doing? Why is he going to these places? Well, I guess he knew something we didn't know. That blue wall came down. And on election night, Trump wins, and Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. But Hillary doesn't even concede. And so what does the left do? They start rioting. They start burning things. They did the exact same thing that they had accused the right that they were supposed to be doing if Trump had lost. So completely embarrassed themselves. And then we hear about the Russians did it. Russian hacked the election. Now, the only hacking that affected the election was Hillary's cough. Because I haven't seen any evidence of any Russian hacking. Let me know if you guys find anything. I don't know. But that seems to be where this is going. So Trump's president. He's got the Trump Tower transition deal going. You know, Kanye comes by. It's smooth. And then he starts appointing people. You have a few mini scandals. He hits a home run at the inauguration. I went to the ball. It was a lot of fun. And then he gives this stem winder at the State of the Union. He's super presidential. Then he goes down. Then he goes up. So I need to interview this guy. So we lock in this interview in Nashville. And it's right before, what's up? It's right before the speech, and we're in this little room, and Trump comes in, Jesse, shakes my hand and yanks me right in there. I'm like this, power move, city. He says, does anybody have any hairspray? Someone gives him hairspray, shh. Sits down across from me, Jesse, you see the crowd out there? Not even letting them in, 20,000, 50,000, 130,000 people lined up. Yeah, Mr. President, a lot of people out there. And you know, he's still bragging about beating Hillary. And he's like, see my poll numbers? Best they've ever been. And, you know, we sit down, do the interview. And I said, Mr. President, you mind if I hitch a ride back on Air Force One? My flight was canceled. Yeah, Jesse, hop on board. So I climb into Air Force One, and I order some chicken over risotto. And I hadn't even interviewed him yet, and I just asked for a water, and my cameraman orders a Corona. And I'm like, what? Like, my man, we haven't even turned the cameras on. I talk, all right. So we come back there, we do a quick thing, and then he tells me to turn the cameras off. And I'm busting his chops, and I said, Mr. President, why are we listening to In Sync on Air Force One? And he goes, oh, In Sync? Love those guys. Lance Bass is a stud. He's a good friend of mine. And I said, Lance Bass? He said, yeah, I was at this party the other day. There was this Jets player from New York, and he's big physique, and there's this really beautiful woman with him. And Lance Bass walks by like this, and the beautiful woman leaves the Jets player and goes after chasing Lance. Lance Bass pulls a lot of chicks. And I said, Mr. President, Lance Bass is gay. And he said, he is? And he goes, all right, Waters, I'm going to go talk to the failing New York Times right now. I'll be right back. So the guy's doing fine. Everything is going to be okay. But the lesson I'd like to just share with you guys today is I started from the bottom, rose to where I was because of hard work. And the press has completely underestimated President Trump at every turn. And you can't listen to the fake news media. The only media you guys need to listen to is Fox News. Thank you guys very much.
Jesse, when we rode on Trump's plane back in January in Iowa, he put Elton John on the big screen, and I don't know if he knows he's gay. I don't know.
He does now.
Anyway, that was awesome. He'll be hosting Bill O'Reilly's show tonight on Fox, and he interviewed some of you, I understand, this morning. And when is that going to air, Jesse? Do you know? After Trump's commencement. So you guys, some of you will be famous in a few months. So we thank you so much for being here. It was an honor and a privilege. It was one of the best convos I can remember. So good job. Yeah.